For you watching this is literally a message for you, because I know it. I just know anybody that's tuning into this podcast is the reason that you're tuning into it. All right, so the Exposure Leads to Access podcast. It says it in the name. So we went with this name because we knew that through this conversations that we're having, that you will be exposed, and then it will lead you to access. And that access is whatever you're looking for, that thing that you want to do. And that intentionality is a missing piece from you being led to that access. All right, so whatever, you literally have to draw it out though, man. Don't just wake up day to day trying to do things and thinking things are just gonna come just because you feel you grinding. You know, that's one of what people just think they grinding all the time. They wake up and they going and they busy, just being busy, and they come home tired, and you feel like you're grinding just because you're tired.
Right.
I remember I used to always tell my friend, and he always tell me this changed his life, and it's funny how like you say messages and you just saying it, and you know how they stick with it. But my homeboy Sip, he always say, bro, you don't know, never know how that changed my life. I like most people come home from work tired and swear they like grind. It's like, bro, you just went to work. Yeah. Like you ain't really put in no work. You just went and now you're tired. Now you feel like you can't do nothing. And I was saying it to him in this time. He would come home, he didn't want to go to the gym. Like, bro, get up, bro. Yeah. Like you did nothing all day, bro. You just went and sat at a computer all day, and now you tired, bro. But people get conditioned. Like you get conditioned to that. Just because you went to work, it's an expectation that you're supposed to come home and be tired.
Right.
Just because you went to work. Come on, bro. Really think about it. Some people do work strenuous jobs where you are tired, but for the most part, you're not as tired as you're trying to make yourself be. I believe you have more in you. Welcome, world. Welcome, family, to another episode of the EL2A Podcast. I'm your host, Jamie Gilmore Jr. To the right of me, we got Mr. Myles McConaughey, Mr. Military Man, Mr. Iron Addict. How you doing, brother?
Doing good today.
I'm okay. To the right of him, we got the Rocket, Mr. E-Rock. How you doing today, brother?
Doing pretty good. I'm all right.
You looking like that? Yeah, looking weird. What's going on, man? But all right, family. So coming off of Black History Month, as y'all know, we did a great job. So anybody and everybody that supported our Black History Month limited edition shirts, we definitely appreciate you for your support. Nothing goes unnoticed. And we all say it all the time, man, we are family, and it takes a village, man, to do the things that we're trying to do, to do the work we do. We can't do it by ourselves, so we appreciate y'all. So thank you so much to anybody that bought them. But now, you know what I'm about to say. All right, so if you haven't done it, like, subscribe, and comment. All right, so watching this content, we appreciate you for watching this content, and we are so excited that we get to do this, but we also want you to go ahead and like, because it costs nothing and it's free. So go ahead and smash that like button right now, because it helps us at the end of the day, helps our content reach more. One thing I do want to highlight as we transition from that, so it is March. All right, so in the first week of March, and what is March? Do y'all know? It's Women's History Month. All right. So there's a lot of women that do a lot of great things from day to day. There's a lot of great women that have paid paths for us to be where we are today. So I want to start by highlighting. I'm going to highlight a woman that's special in my life, my mom. Mom, Ramita Gilmore, I appreciate you for who you are, for raising me and for giving me all the guidance that you gave me all throughout my life. So I had to highlight my first love. Anybody, you women, you guys want to highlight, fellas, I can spin it to y'all, so y'all can highlight any special women that you would like to.
Yeah, it'll be my mom, my grandmother. Of course, they without their wisdom being imparted to me, I wouldn't be where I am today. Lastly and not least, obviously my wife, she holds it down, a good helpmeet and a good supporter.
Yes, sir. How about you, the Rocket?
Absolutely. My mom, but also my grandmother. Hey, they've been supporting us, man, since we were little boys, and they helped instill us and they taught us how to be men. So definitely want to highlight those young ladies.
For sure. And all the other women, all you women watching this right now, you appreciate it. Without you, we can't be who we are. All right, so you women are needed. God created the earth. He created men and women, and we need you all. So thank every woman and keep doing the great things that you're doing. All right, so today, to get into today's topic, one thing that stuck out to me, so many times in life, well, I ain't gonna say so many times, but sometimes in life, you have moments of reflection where you just sit back and you reflect on, man, where have I come from? And today was one of those days for me. I walked into the office today, and I'm gonna paint a picture for you all. All right, so I don't think I've done this yet on the podcast. The office that we have right now, it's great. So the space is a great space. But when we started, it was a green, actually a lime green space. Nobody would actually want to be in a lime green space, but it was lime green. We got it painted, got some stuff hanging up, and it's just a different space. But when I walked in there, I thank God just for that. Like, I thank God for where we at, because I remember walking into that space and seeing it lime green and thinking about where I wanted us to be or where I wanted us to go. And to be able to think to where we are now, I mean, those things that I thought back then, I could see them coming. Like, I could see the process, I could see the journey. And then that brought up the mindset and the thought process of being intentional. I think so many times people miss the mark just by not being intentional, because everybody wants something. I don't care what it is. Everybody, when you wake up, it's something that you want. It's something that you crave. Even if you don't need it or you shouldn't have it, there's something that we want when we wake up. And to increase your chances to get that thing, intentionality, it would increase that to get it. So one thing we have, and obviously, you know, me and Eddie created Cut Different, but at the start of Cut Different, Eddie was up in Tallahassee. So a lot of the things, you know, I was here doing. So when we got this space, it was a very intentional moment for us to even get in this space. So let me paint a picture for you all. All right. When I got back, I was seeking mentorship because I understood the thought process of relationship building. One thing I did, I wrote a list. So there was a list of people. I said, okay, this is Cut Different. This is what we want to do. These are the list of people that I need to meet to help me, to help us do these things that we need to do. Because obviously I understand that we couldn't do it by ourselves. So I start meeting people by people slowly but surely. One person that I met, and this person is not someone that was on this list, but his name was Chief Shane Alexander. At that time, he was the fire chief, Ocala fire chief. The reason I got in contact with him, because my ex-principal, Mike Kelly, he was a principal at North Marion High School when I was there. I reached out to him. The reason I reached out to him is because one of my former teammates, Reggie Wilkerson, he had just met with him. He was like, man, I met with Mr. Kelly, man. He gave me some game. You should meet with him. I said, bet. Because at that time, I was just open. I'm trying to get it going. I need everybody. Hit him up. He put me in contact with Chief Shane Alexander. We actually sit down over at what's my thing? Not the Roll House. What's by Longhorn across the street? L House. We met at the L House. We had lunch at the L House. From that moment, I asked for mentorship. I need you to be my mentor. I need guidance. Weekly, we sat down and he was my mentor. To make a long story short, one of these weeks, is a day for our mentor. I think it was like a Tuesday. He called me and said, hey, Jamie, I got something that came up. During this time, just to paint the picture, this was 2020. So this is the height of the social injustice, the George Floyd situation. So there was a lot of things going on. A lot of people were calling meetings about the situation, about the racial issue in our city here in Ocala, Florida. And this was what the call he got. He was like, there was some pastors meeting over at Church of Hope, and I'm going to go over there. How about you just meet me over there? At that time, I'd never been to Church of Hope, right? But I trusted him. He's my mentor. I'm going over here. I'm going to meet my mentor. I walk into this room, and I'm like, whoa. Every person, literally maybe 2 or 3 people, every person I wrote down on that list was in that room. All right. So I know I've been talking about it. I'm going to pause for a minute. That's intentionality. All right. So me putting myself in those positions, in those rooms, meeting these people, being intentional, now a blessing. That was God. That was a God moment. God blessed me for that moment to happen because he understood, okay, I don't know if he said you've been faithful. Here's your blessing. But that moment, I was able to go in there and literally start meeting these people. Sheriff Billy Woods, Chief, all the chief at the time, and all these different people. I was able to piece this thing together to be able to meet these people to expedite our process. Another thing that happened in that room, I built a relationship with, at the time, the mayor, our former mayor, Mayor King Gwynn. He was the mayor, and when I first got back, I understood that there was no resources for I felt a young man like me. I felt as if I had a master's degree. I'm a black man with a master's degree. I felt like I should be able to do anything I want to do. I'm feeling invincible, but it wasn't going that way. I got back here and I'm like, there aren't any resources, any person for me to reach out to. So I just took a shot in the dark. I emailed the mayor and said, hey, this is who I am. You need to meet me. He emailed me back within that day. The next day I'm in his office and we built a relationship. So what happened in that meeting, after we built a relationship, he was in that meeting. He was one of the speakers in that meeting. but he started speaking about me in this same meeting. He was speaking about me, but he didn't know I was in there. I was sitting in between two pastors. One of the pastors was Pastor Josh Reed, and the other was Pastor Reed, Josh's dad. I forget his first name. I'm sitting in between them. So I didn't know who they were at that moment, but we start introducing each other. At that moment, when he started speaking about me, the dad, Pastor Reed, he buzzed me and said, "He talking about you, right?" I was like, "Yeah, he talking about me." And so that kind of expedited our like before. He was like, "All right, we need to meet. I need to sit down with you." Sat down with him. We went over to McAllister's and sat down. Come to figure out, he's the head pastor at Central Christian Church. It's all starting to make sense, right? Because he's the pastor at Central Christian Church. And now I'm like, okay, at that moment, I'm just trying to get some money because it takes money to do what you need to do. So I'm just thinking, any person I meet, I want, like, how can we, I need some funds. So this is what I'm trying to get out of him. He says, "Man, I'm going to put you in front of our leadership board. I want you to come over to church, tell them your mission, come over, and I'm going to have you speak to them." Bet, let's do it. I'm ready to do anything. I get in front of them. One of the people I'm going to mention is Pastor Dan Kuhn. He's the assistant executive pastor here, or whatever his role is, but he's one of the instrumental forces because my communication started going through him. And so I left, obviously waiting for the call back for money. Dan calls me and says, "Hey, Jamie, I got something for you. I think it's better than what you thought. I need you to come meet with me." Now I go to the church, come to Central Christian Church, and Dan says, "Let me walk you over." He walked me over to the building and said, "Hey, this is your new office." All right. So again, all these things that happened to me, I was trying to tell y'all, this is all intentionality. This is just because I was so dedicated to what I was doing and being intentional, putting myself in position, about educating myself. I mean, staying up every night, all night, researching different nonprofits, what they do, how they do it, and just trying to learn information about this space, being intentional. And now when I get into, first of all, so now I met every person I want to meet. I landed myself office space. So I have a space, we have a space to run the business, and I have all these connections. And then another person I meet is Pastor Mark Cummins in that same space because we were at his church at the meet. He's a board member of ours now. Mayor Gwen put me in contact with him, say, "Hey, you two need to connect." He helped me start putting this thing together, and boom, now we're here today. But all of those things, like today, I was having like a flashback of all these moments. Then this happened in 2020, and now we're in 2024. All right, so a 4-year process, all these moments of just being intentional, putting myself in places. But think about this. So think about if I waited. All right, think about if I didn't make that list. Thinking about if I'd have waited for somebody to give me something. Think about if I just would have gave up. Think about all these things that could have happened by not being intentional and not rebuilding relationships with people. All right. So the person that's watching this today and that thing that you want to do, I think the thing that's missing between you and where you're trying to get is intentionality. You're not putting yourself in a position that you need to go because maybe you're tired. Maybe you get up, you go to work and you come home and you got a couple hours and you would rather go home and get rest rather than going to the little networking event that you may have or going wherever the space is where the people are there you want to be and putting yourself in that spot to be able to learn more, to be able to get those connections. That always happens out of intentionality. Intentionality is on the other side of tiredness. Intentionality is on the other side of laziness. Intentionality, just like you have to really go all the way through that. And I'm a living testament to tell you, like, if you are intentional, that like the things you want to do, they're going to start coming. All right. So that's just my little story about intentionality. So I understand that you fellas in your lives and everything that you do, obviously it is in the same journey when it comes to being intentional. But when you hear intentionality, so you just heard my story, but for you, when you hear intentionality, what does that word mean to you? And I can start with you, Myles. What does it mean to you? And what moments of your life can you point that you displayed just being intentional?
Yeah, so goes back to something I said a few times before on here about checking your motives. Your intent, your motives, they go hand in hand. So in my life, I've always been one that I didn't mind, blazing a trail or going against convention. I know growing up, especially once I got to high school, it was the track of going to college and then, going down a career path after that. But with the decision to go to the military, that was with a intent in mind. of why I was going. My mom pushed back on me joining at first until she heard my reason. And because I was able to verbalize it, she's like, nah, I get it. This is something you need to go do. And so the reason why I joined the military was also one part, as we call it, the Captain America speech, you want to do all this stuff, patriotism for your country. But, real quick, you find that isn't enough to keep your head in the game, because, you out there going through what you're going through. All these other people not experiencing that with you. It's a level of solid, it's independent. Your experience is independent of you. So I was like, man, I really want to test myself about how far I can go. And when I meant how far I go, I'm not talking about just the physical aspect, but the mentality, the mind. How can I put myself in the fire enough to where after I come out of it, I know I'm on track to being that man I know I can be. And I went in there with that mentality. I went in there with, okay, if it's tough, I'm gonna sit there and go for it. If it's hard, I'm gonna put myself through it, because I'm trying to build that strength. I understood that there was a part of me that may have been lacking before I joined the military, so I wanted to get that out of the military. And it was a success. The mentality I was able to cultivate within myself throughout my time, man, it served me well. I mean, I've used that as an example to some of the other people we talked to on this podcast about, understanding that the traits that you hold, it can go with you wherever. It doesn't matter the career path or whatever it is. Once you really build that mentality, like you said, it's a feeling almost like invincible. I can go in any room, I can meet any person, have a conversation with them, be on their level, and make things happen. So for me, it was kind of a natural progression after that to start going into politics, because I understood with that there was a level of underrepresentation there that wasn't being met. And so with me, with my mentality of, well, like you said, staying up late, learning as much as you can, being willing to expose myself to certain people that could help give me a piece of knowledge that can take me to the next level, or just even occupying the space sometimes is all you need to get that next, level up. But like you said, you have to be willing to go there. Instead of doing whatever, go to that meeting that's at 2:00, or go to the one that's at 7:00 at night. Go to the ones that's on the weekends, but go with that intent. So with politics, the overall intent that I want to have is, okay, a lot of things that we struggle with politically, it can almost be mended with common sense tactics. But because so many people are so bought for different reasons, they don't attack it with a genuine approach. And I want to be that. So because that's my intent, I'm going to filter the people I come across. I'm going to filter, the people I sit down with and break bread with, talking about politics, to try and mend some of the issues that I'm seeing, people that I can trust, because my intent is to remain genuine, not to allow the people I bring into my circle or around me, or the people I allow to, get in my head to pull me in a direction that I feel can either cause me to sell out or anything to that effect. I just be proactive. Instead of waiting until I get in that room and have to tell somebody no, it's like, no, I'm gonna do everything I can to not even end up in there first. Because when you look at me, it's like he too real to be bought. So I'm just not even gonna mess with him. I would rather that, because of the energy I put out, than to even have to deal with unnecessary stuff.
And let me ask you this. So going back to the beginning, before you even went to the politics, so the military aspect. So you said you had intent when joining. So through joining and through your tenure, how long was your tenure in the
6.5 years?
6.5 years. Throughout those 6.5 years, how many times did you think about, okay, this might not have been for me, or I should have done something else? Or how many times did you think about, like, just, why did I do this? Like, how many times did that come about?
Truth be told, very, very little.
Okay.
Very little. Because I was able to compartmentalize. I was able to understand that certain aspects was just the military, and the other aspects was the people that was in the military. And that's why I'm very careful with how I speak about the military, because I I see the good that it did for me and others. And I know that it can have a negative stigma around it, but it's like with anything, man. I tell people all the time, it's like with any job. You're going to have people that just make the job, hell on earth sometimes. But I'm not going to sit there and blame the profession itself, because I know what it's built on, what it's supposed to instill in people. So I think my intent with that type of mentality, being in that environment, helped me because very rarely did I was like, man, I made a mistake, or, I need to get out of here. Most of the time I was like, well, how do I deal with this person? Not the system, but this person is in this system. So very rarely, actually.
Yeah. And one thing that stuck out to me when you transitioned to speaking about the political, aspect, the intent on creating, how people view you. You get what I'm saying? Because that's going to eliminate certain type of energy that come to you. And I really like how you put that, because when we're thinking about for everything that we do, if you put, this is who I am.
Right.
And if you have that on Front Street, this is what I'm not, this is what I don't do, and this is what you can't do. Like, and that allows people to don't come with me with it.
Yep.
And I think that's a beautiful
say, don't waste your time, don't waste mine. That's basically what I try to get to. So, that's why too, when it comes to politics, I very rarely speak about this party versus that party. I speak about action. What's the action that's taking place? And is it the most sensible? If not, then let's get together and rework it. And I'm willing to work with anybody that has that same level of intent of just getting something done sensibly, something that's actually going to help people and can be measured that is actually helping people. And that's what pulls me, politically. If you're on that type of dialogue, I can sit down and talk with you. But if you're not, and you're trying to, play into these caricatures or whatever, then, it don't even waste the text or call my way.
Yeah. And I think that's where a lot of, in the political realm, that's where a lot of they are missing the youth. Because most young people think that way.
Yeah.
Most young people, they're not picking a side. They just, what are you going to do for me?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they're hyper-focused on that. It's like, what are you doing for me? And how can my world, you know what I mean? I see you helping me in my world. They like to say, most of the time when it's back and forth, us versus them, they ain't rocking with that. I'm going to stay with him, a little independent bubble. Y'all do y'all. I ain't even showing up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So somebody with that type of mentality is winning them over, because you understand that it's not about size. It's about the goal.
Right.
It's about coming. So I think that's very powerful. And that's, that's why we doing what we doing.
Yeah.
That's what we're thinking about. So that's good. So we're going to spin it over to the Rocket. So when you think about that intentionality piece, talk to us about a moment where you had to, when it's being intentional.
So first, I think about, Pops, we were at church, and he had a sermon on being intentional. So the way that he painted it was, all right, you going to church, and the pastor's doing what he's supposed to do. He's delivering the message the way that he was supposed to deliver the message that God, seen fit for him to deliver it. All right, well, you have individuals that come to church who may have started their morning off wrong. They could have been listening to some kind of, something that wasn't in the spiritual realm on the way to church. So coming to church, your intentions weren't really on the message in itself. So now you leave church after the message is given, or the pastor didn't do what he was supposed to do, or the pastor didn't do a good job today. Well, that's because when you came to church, your intentions, you wasn't intentional about the message to begin with. You wasn't focused on what you should have been focused on. So then I go to, when you think about being intentional, and Myles, I think you touched on this, like, okay, so when you're being intentional about whatever it is that you're doing, the naysayers, the people that try the negative input that they want to give you, you blocking that out already. They may not even come to your point, but you're blocking that out. So whatever they're bringing to you that could be negative, to stop you from wanting to be in the military, to stop you from saying, hey, Jamie, man, you don't fit that mold. You don't need to go to that church where all these big wigs going to be at. You don't need to go there. Your intentions blocked all that out, even if somebody would have said that. Sometimes we have families sometimes that the intentions their intentions is not the same thing as ours. They want the best for us, but they may not understand that what's for me is for me. And then what I'm going to put my focus on, I'm going to be intentional about it. You may know about it, but your focus is not going to be the same as mine, so to speak. So then now, transitioning to what I experienced, as far as, and I just real estate. I mean, I could go anywhere with it for real, but with real estate, one of the biggest things that I still talk about to this day is after you finish the class is I'm not gonna say it's easy, but you can get down. You can get through the class if you're intentional about it. But as soon as I finished the class, there were still people after taking this 63 hour class. They'll still say I'm not ready, even though I wanted to get my real estate license, and I know I was intentional about going. I was diligent. I was making sure that I was studying. I was ready for each one of these classes every day or every weekend. I still allow somebody who intentions wasn't on passing the final exam, the state exam. My intentions was to pass it. And even with that, yes, I took it multiple times. However, my intentions after not passing the second and the third time, that fourth time I told myself, I'm gonna be intentional about studying tonight, staying up till almost 2 in the morning prior to taking the test. But I was intentional about passing that test, studying and preparing myself for that test. And it happened. And I think a lot of times when it's to the point, everybody's saying, we're saying the exact same thing. Whenever you take your focus, your mission, the purpose behind whatever it is that you want to get accomplished, the moment you take your focus off that, 9 times out of 10, you're going to allow yourself to derail and not reach whatever it is that you want to reach because you wasn't intentional about it. You allow somebody else to take you away from that. So,
yeah, you basically willing yourself to success. You know what I mean? When you're being intentional, because again, I may have said that like you will go through hell and high water before you don't see it through. When you're so intentional, when you're so locked in. And there's certain things that boost. Like for me, there was 3 moments. Like I literally can remember 3 moments in my life that like boosted my intentionality. One was the moment, and I share this a lot. I don't know if I shared it on here, but there was one moment in my life. I went up to Philly. And obviously, I'm from the South, so a lot of people would hear my accent, and they knew I wasn't from there. They would ask me where I'm from. I would never say Ocala. I'm like, nobody know what Ocala is. One white gentleman, he was very persistent. He was like, where you from, young man? I said, Central Florida, because I ain't going to say Ocala because I don't think he know what Ocala is. So I said, Central Florida. He was like, well, where? Then I finally said, an hour outside of Orlando. He was like, well, where? And then I said, Ocala, Florida. He was like, it's capital of the world. I was like, I guess. It did. After that, I called my mom and said, horse capital of the world. She's like, yeah, boy, you know that. So I'm 18 years old, grew up, born and raised in Ocala, didn't know the place horse capital of the world. That was number one, because it's like, it started making me think. Like, I started just, how in the world did this happen? And it started, the exposure words start being big in my life, that moment. Second moment, college football. Having a head coach that was a narcissist, basically, or whatever you want to call it, just a control freak. And seeing a person having so much control over you that you can't do nothing about it. Like literally had his foot on your neck and you can't, like, what you gonna say? He wrong? Like, he control you. Go on, leave. Or I send you home. Like that, so much control. So that was another one. I always said like that moment. And I always had an is what it is attitude, like before that. But after that moment, I always said I never have an is what it is attitude, because it ain't, it is what it is. And second of all, I never have let a person have that much power over me. That was the second moment. Third moment. Went out to Western Illinois University. I never in my life seen that many black people with that much power. All right. So it was a PWI, predominantly white institution. The president of the university was black. The vice president of the university was black. Most of the deans on campus were black. And the head of my department was a black man. And I worked for a black man on campus. All right. We would go to lunch together with the president. I would go to his house, watch the Super Bowl. When they would have it talks about budgets and all these different things, I was in the room. So my level of exposure was heightened. Things that were the access of things that I felt I needed, it felt closer to me, or that I could have seen or retrieved. So that it expedited me, because it's like, and they would wear suits, they were so sharp. I ain't gonna lie, because Dr. Hart, I give you credit. Dr. Hart, he was head of my department, the sports management department. But they would get so fresh, and it's a different type of fresh from the north than the south. In the north, you got to get the cold fresh, so they got the what's my long jackets, the trench coats, and all these different things, the scarves, they would do it up. So I was following their swag. One of my mentors, he hooked me up with a little websites called like Sprezza Box or something like that. Go to Sprezza. Different accessories, like different ties, different socks, and all type of stuff. So it was just getting me fly. But anywho, that heightened me. I never really had exposure to that. Again, my daddy, he wears suits, but I only seen people wear suits for funerals and for church, not to go to work. So it heightened my exposure. So that moment, it did so much for me to see them, because it's like, that's what I'm gonna be. Yeah, I'm gonna get fly like that, and I'm gonna have power like that. I'm gonna be in a position to be able to lead and do things like that. And again, the exposure that gave to me, bro, the level access to information I had. I was a GA on campus, all right? the head of my department, Dr. Hart, we was sitting in his office one day. He was like, man, you did any professional development stuff yet? I was like, nah. I'm like, nah, why would I do that? They're like, no, they got a budget for that, right? Like, because you're a GA, they have a budget for you in the professional development to go do whatever you want to do to get. Nah, ain't nobody telling me that. Okay, go up there and ask about it. Now I get to go up there and ask about it. But it's information that if I would never known, I would never ask and I never went. I was afforded the opportunity to go to Canada, fully paid, everything paid for, 2 times, year after year, to go to conferences up in Canada for free. Going out, you feel what I'm saying? So the level of exposure that these opportunities provided to me, those 3 things, but that heightened my intentionality after that. Because it was like, when I left that moment with them, I want to be that person for the next person. You get what I'm saying? Yeah. I want to be that person for somebody else that showed them, hey, you can go do that. And so at all those 3 experiences mold me to who I am today, because I come back to Ocala, Florida, like, let's get to it. You know what I mean? So again, that intentionality piece, now I'm here and now we're doing what we do now. Everybody comes apart. So even us being here, how did you come apart? Like your intentionality, like being here or being a part of Cut Different, what lit the fire for you to be here?
So what ended up spurring me was looking around for areas in which, like I said, I could give back, or I could lend my unique experiences and understanding to something to help out. I think I've said it already before, and my intent was, okay, if I go and look for something that's already in existence, but fail to actually find something for what it is I'm trying to do at the moment, then it was my intent to create my own. But my first thing was always make sure and check if something's already in existence first. Because I don't believe in needless competition, especially when it's in this space. So I'm just like, all right, well, let me check. So my mentor and then my wife, they were helping me out in the search, and my wife came across Cut Different, and she had sent me the info and everything else. And then my mentor had mentioned, or he had gave a list of orgs. And out of that list, I'm like, well, again, my intent isn't just to jump into anything. It's something where it makes sense, it fits, and it makes sense for me to lend my talents to. And so basically, KD came out to be a 2 for 2 with like, okay, so then Reese, email, a text, one of the 2. Call. I think I was, because I hit it. I think I sent an email from the link. Then I got your number and I called, and then we had a conversation. I think maybe like that next day or something like that. It was quick. But then even when we had our conversation afterwards, it's like, because it's like, all right, well, you have 2 people that's sitting down, full intention. Is like, okay, no, we're going to sit there and help our community out. We're going to do things that we see needing to be done that haven't been done, or at least to this effect. So ever since then, it's just been one thing after another, just building up.
And what year was that when we first sat down? So think about that. What year was it?
Yeah, 2022.
22, I think. 22.
Yeah, because it was at the end of 22. I was here all of 2023, and now we're here in 2024.
So think about that from that time to now, how much has been done and how much is on the horizon in that amount of time. And that's all intentionality. That's all I'm trying, like, that's all intentional, even for bro, you know what I mean? It was times, even with him, there was one time with him when he was actually going to drive trucks, I believe, at one point in time. And I put a call like, nah, bro, we can't, like, we got something to do. You know what I mean? You can't do that. We got something to do. And even from that moment, you get what I'm saying? Even from him moving from Tallahassee to move here to Ocala, like, it was all intentional, bro. And again, but that just doesn't happen. There's a whole lot of things that have to happen for you to be comfortable in your intentionality, as far as having a plan, working the plan, researching it, like, because it can get lost, because you can hear us having about intentionality. You can leave this, okay, I'm leaving, I'm about to go be intentional. But you don't do the things that you have to do it in order to help you be intentional and be confident in that intentionality. Because even now, doing this work, there's some moments that I may get in that make me uncomfortable, or that, like, those little heart-beating moments, you know what I mean? You may have to go speak or do something else. No matter how much I don't spoke to this point, I still get nervous sometimes when I have to speak. It matters to the crowd sometimes, or what I'm speaking about. You get what I'm saying? But those moments, but I understand that I'm going to do it because I understand I'm going to get through it. You know what I mean? Because I have that intentionality and I've got confidence in it.
But and I think even when it's unclear, it's always going to go back to your faith.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, even when you and I had that conversation, you know, when I was about to go drive trucks, and you know, he was like, bro, now, you know, time is now, basically, you know, like, you know, go ahead and come over here. I got a family. I understand, you know, time is now, and I understand that, you know, this will be good for the organization, for us to grow, for us to expand, but I need money, you know, and I need, you know, good money in order to continue what the lifestyle that me and my family hadn't already been on. So it took for me to really, and we said, but it's the God on the truth, bro. It really took. I was in the shower. God, like, what are you trying to say? Because I do want to go drive a truck. I got my license, and I'm pretty good at driving a truck at this point in time. But now, you know, I got my brother telling me, no, you know, the time is not. At the same time with me, after I worked at a company for 7 years, that was my life. I really did that for 7 years. In the meantime, I'm still coming back and forth to Ocala to still be a mentor. But that moment when I made that change to say, or when I made the decision to say, you know, I want to go ahead and I want to step away from calling distributing, and now I want to go do something new, my headspace was driving the truck. But God had something totally different, and I had to trust in what He was showing me at that point in time. And I swear, I said, God, God, just let me know. I don't care which one I do. I know you're gonna lead me in the right way. I'll never forget. That next day, I called the recruiter for Werner. I promise you, my boy drive for Werner right now. And I told him, and he was upset, but whatever. But I called my boy when I called the recruiter for Werner, I called him, man, the next day. I don't even think I ever shared this with you. When I called him, that man was like, you can't get on right now. You have to wait. So that I got in the car and I was like, all right, God, like, simple as that. And it just simply was just trusting in what He had for me and letting Him steer me in the way that I needed to go. Because there are a lot of times, even with trying to be intentional, if you're not being intentional about the prayer, if you're not being intentional about whatever direction in life you want to go, it's just not going to happen. And there are going to be different things, different people. Even when my boy wanted me to drive over the road with him, that could have been a distraction. That could have pulled me away from this. But again, the intent on what I wanted for my life, the intentions that God got for my life got me here, got us here, and got cut from going the way that it goes. And I think that's what Jamie's speaking to for anybody, really. Because if you truly believe in God, if you truly believe what you want for yourself, you can walk into it, regardless of the circumstances. So.
Yeah. And the biggest thing is, too, you have to keep yourself open to evolve along with the intention. Because, I mean, even when I look back over my, my life so far, from the moment I decided that when I become an adult, what it is I want to do, which is I want to help people. At my core, that's what it is. I want to help people. Mm-hmm. Or I want to sit there and help, protect people, or just do something for others. So, that led me to, at first it was law enforcement. I was looking at that, but I had to wait till I was 21. That led me to the military. Then after the military, I got out. I still wanted to help people. That never changed. But now, because of my situation has changed, I have to evolve in the environment or the way in which I carry out that help or caring for people. So that led me to the gym. Then I went there, helped people with their health and wellness, still helping people, still giving back to the community. Then went from that to cut different in politics. So again, it's just, but the at the core has always been to help people. That's always been my driving force. And my intent was always to do that, but it just evolved as, life went, as I went through different seasons. Each season taught me something else. Mm-hmm. It taught me from how to be diligent and disciplined and ambitious in the military. Then it taught me how to listen to other people when I had to hear their reasons why they want to lose weight, their struggles with their health and wellness. There's here looking at the youth and looking at the parents that's associated with the youth and the schools that's associated with the youth, all these different things. So, the intent has remained the same. It just evolved. And that's the thing that you really have to make sure you take care of your intentions, because it is going to change. But you usually have to be mature and wise enough to see that you're still in your calling. It's just developing differently for for where God needs you at ultimately.
Yeah. A blessing and a blessing, bro.
Yeah.
The whole the story that you painted, the picture that you painted at the beginning, you were doing what you were intentionally wanting to do. But every time, even when it didn't seem clear, every meeting that you went to, every person that you met connected you to the next thing. To your point, you still want to help, but every time you help, now you're helping in a different capacity. Even with real estate, the first showing that I just had, even though it's not falling, it's falling through and it's not going the way that I wanted, I still was able to connect with a whole nother business aspect of it, and it's still being able to help. And it's just crazy because it's a blessing inside of a blessing. We just got to keep the faith. Like we just keep saying, bro, you just got to know the intentions behind what you're doing, knowing that this is what God wants you to do.
And I think that's an uncomfortable piece too, to change. So the change that he just said, so that when you're being intentional and you're doing these things, the path sometimes looks different. Yeah. It's not how when you first sought out for it to look. You know what I mean? Then you start going, I ain't think I was going to start doing this. I ain't think I was going to be over here. But not knowing it's all part of the plan. It's all going to align at the end. And that's the hard part. Trusting that.
It is. And that's why, too, like I keep saying, you got to check those motives. Why do you do what you do? And if at any point in time you're doing something and it's not in alignment with your original intent, your original purpose that you struck out, then you have to have that come to Jesus me and, and really evaluate, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? And, and the biggest thing too is like, a lot of times when people start off on something, their level of intention is very, enriched, it's high because everybody likes something new or feel like they're going to have something new. But you really have to cherish once you in that space or you in that environment, okay, you have to guard that intention because like I said before, you always gonna get pulled in different directions, especially if you showcase that you have talents, you have abilities, or you're a good orator or innovator, whatever it is that really help you stick out. Somebody's always gonna try to pull on that talent. And if you're not guarding your intentions, that's how sometimes you can get caught up in something. Because on the surface, it seems like, well, I'm still doing the same thing. Well, actually, you kind of go on the left field a little bit, or you over here a little bit. So you really have to guard that to make sure that, okay, no matter what, I'm airtight. You know what I mean? I'm in my calling. I'm being intentional with staying in my calling, but also understanding, you made a great point with leaning on God. When you're going through those transition periods, ask him, where is it you're leading me? Give me that confidence to be led. Because a lot of times that's our biggest issue. We get so caught up in building and chasing something that it's like, I don't want to be led. Like, let's be real. Like, it's true. Because now it's like, well, the whole time been pushing for something. And now it's like, all right, well, no, you actually got to be over here. And I could have. I honestly, I did. I tried to fight to stay in the military because I'm like, nah, this is where I want to be at. I tried to stay in, but it was literally taken out of my control. And that's how I knew it was like, okay, this God moving me on to something else. I can't stay here anymore. So, but I mean, it's just a growing experience, man.
Yeah. And so this your call, man. As for you watching this is literally a message for you because I know it. I just know anybody that's tuning into this podcast is the reason that you're tuning into it. All right, so the Exposure Leads to Access podcast. It says it in the name. So we went with this name because we knew that through this conversations that we're having, that you will be exposed and then it will lead you to access. And that access is whatever you're looking for, that thing that you want to do. And that intentionality is a missing piece from you being led to that access. All right, so whatever, you literally have to draw it out though, man. Don't just wake up day to day trying to do things and thinking things are just gonna come just because you feel you grinding. That's one of those people just think they grinding all the time. They wake up and they going and they just being busy and they come home tired and you feel like you're grinding just because you're tired.
Right.
I remember I used to always tell my friend, and he always tell me this changed his life. And it's funny how like you say messages and you just saying it and you know how they stick with it. But my homeboy Sip, he always say, bro, you don't know, never know how that changed my life. I like most people come home from work tired and swear they like grind. It's like, bro, you just went to work. Yeah. Like you ain't really put in no work. You just went and
fatigue.
Now you're tired. Now you feel like you can't do nothing. And I was saying it to him in this time. He would come home, he didn't want to go to the gym. Like, bro, get up, bro.
Yeah.
Like, you did nothing all day, bro. You just went and sat at a computer all day, and now you're tired, bro. But people get conditioned. Like, you get conditioned to that. Just because you went to work, it's an expectation that you're supposed to come home and be tired.
Right.
Just because you went to work. Come on, bro. Really think about it. Some people do work strenuous jobs where you are tired, but for the most part, you're not as tired as you're trying to make yourself be. I believe you have more in you. And that's what I was telling him. So even now, you watching this, you got more in you. I hope this podcast will be that motivating factor to make you push through, to make you lead right now, be intentional, get that pen, get that pad out, and really start drawing out that plan for your life. And I start with that SWOT analysis, all those different tools out there to be able to help you to get to where you need to go. So this is that message for you, man. So intentionality, make sure you're being intentional from this moment out for the rest of 2024, being intentional about everything that you're doing, all right? So anything y'all got, anything else I want to share with the people, for the people?
I got one last thing. So I know I do this on purpose. So through the process of real estate, I share with you all, but also share with my kids. Every time that I failed at something, whether or failing the test, so even now with the process of the contract not going through, I told them, and I could see the up, like when they're excited that they got another showing, they get hyped for it. But then when I tell them, all right, it didn't go through, that I could see them come down. But for me, I do that intentionally, and I do that because with that being my intent, to see my kids happy, to see my family happy, to see my support system happy, I know at the end of the day, there's something that I have to do. I have to sell a house. I have to make sure that I make them happy, because at the end of the day, that's going to make me happy. So the intentions behind the things that I do, even in my failure, and that's the point that I'm in. We fail as people, man. I know y'all think that the Cut Different Mentors are the perfect men on earth, but I promise you, that is not the truth. We strive to do the best that we can, but we're still human beings. So even in our imperfections, we still are intentional about the things that we do to make sure that we get the best, not only for ourselves, but the young men and our family as well. So yeah, I'll leave y'all with that.
I love it. How about your brother Myles? Good.
Yeah, if you don't have intent on progressing in life, to find or to walk in your calling, your intentions are to fail at that point. Because if you're not pushing yourself or making sure that you're about your business, and when I say business, I ain't talking about just making money, but just progressing in life as an individual, then you are choosing subconsciously to fail. Because I'm gonna tell you, the world is not going to make it any easier on you, that's for sure. And so you're going to need that piece to really understand how to take ownership over your life and say that, you know what, this is what I truly believe I'm being led to do. I'm going to learn all that I need to learn. I'm going to hustle while I wait if I'm told to wait. But I'm going to make sure I'm building my value while I'm in this waiting period, so that when I get my moment, I'm shooting off. I'm able to sit there and really tackle it with 100% confidence that, I'm going to go for it. And that's a missing component a lot of times. A lot of times we head into a situation or opportunity with little to no intention at all. And, and then we suffer the consequences of. And then, if you seeking a excuse or somebody to blame, you can always find it, for sure. Always find that, for sure. So I love it, man. So look, before I get into mine, I'm gonna say this: March 22nd. All right, March 22nd is our casino night. We hope that everybody watching this podcast will show up and support our casino night. I mean, it's just, you don't have to go down to Tampa or wherever you located at. You won't have to go there. You can come right to Ocala, Florida. We're gonna have the Hard Rock right here in Ocala, Florida, on March 22nd. I mean, blackjack tables, roulette tables, what else? I'm about to say spades, not spades. What's the other one? Poker tables. All those things, man. We're gonna have a fun night. There will be adult beverages there, and it's a night full of fun, raffles and everything, man. If you were there last year, you was there and you understood what I'm talking about. But if you're not, this will be our second annual, so please don't miss it. So our second annual casino night will be on March 22nd. But we'd definitely love to see you there. All right. So definitely thank you. If you haven't already,
like, subscribe, and comment. Start what you're doing right now. Like and subscribe, comment on this video. Tell us what you think. All right, we just had a whole dialogue about intentionality. Tell us how you plan to be intentional. How are you going to leave this moment, leave this podcast, and be intentional? Tell us right now in the comments. If you have been, telling us what you have been doing to be intentional. What things have you been doing from the day to day to make sure that your dreams, make sure that everything that your goals are going to get accomplished? And if you haven't, tell us what you're going to start doing today. All right, family. Again, we always tell you, man, it's a family. We love you all for watching this. And what I'm going to leave off saying, all right? So make sure you be intentional, take control of your life, and be intentional from this day on. All right? Peace.